It's set to become the largest immigration detention center in the United States, and it is said to cost nearly $500 million a year to maintain. Here's the president making the sell.
It's known as Alligator Alcatraz, which is very appropriate because I looked outside and that's not a place I want to go hiking anytime soon. But very soon, this facility will house some of the most menacing migrants, some of the most vicious people on the planet. We're surrounded by miles of treacherous swampland, and the only way out is really deportation.
So the question is, do you need it? And why? Who better to answer it than the man in charge of figuring out who gets deported and how, Trump's White House border czar, Mr. Tom Homan. Tom, thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris.
So it is interesting how Alligator Alcatraz has made so many people happy and feel like the government is finally doing its job, and so many people absolutely outraged that this is demonizing and dealing with people who entered illegally as if they were all hardened criminals. How do you respond?
Well, you know, we prioritize those that are public safety threats, not just illegal aliens, those with serious criminal convictions and also national security threats. And this facility is key for is criminal aliens. Those are a threat to public safety. And we need these beds. You know, I've been saying since January 20th, if we want to run this deportation operation, we need funding. We need more detention beds. Everybody we arrest, we need a bed, because they're going to be in detention from several days to several months, depending on the case. So, and yesterday, I didn't see the numbers today, but yesterday I woke up, we had 1,600 beds across the nation empty, 1,600. We'll fill them in a day. And we're constantly playing this keep up. We got to remove so many people. We can only arrest so many people. This day we got so many beds. So these will give us a little breathing room, give us extra beds so we can target more criminals throughout the country.
Everybody's talking fiscal austerity. You're not a lawmaker, but you do have to deal with budgets. And they look at this line item, and it's one of the biggest ads, hundreds of billions of dollars to run this one facility. And again, people look at it and say, do we really need this? Why do we need to put this much money and emphasis on deporting people who've entered illegally?
Well, let's compare it to the last administration. Okay, they were putting illegal aliens in hotel rooms in New York City for like $500 a night. And that's a fact. $500 per alien per night for a hotel room. Then they had to pay for food, three meals a day. They had to pay for medical care. They had to pay for attorney access. All these other things were added to that $500 a night. So who knows what the cost was, really? I don't have that number. I can tell you the beds here are just under 300 is what I was briefed on, and that includes 3 meals a day, full medical, doctors and nurses on site. So you got your food, you got medical, and what's great about this facility, Chris, is there's an airstrip right there. So we can also have additional efficiencies on transportation, because we have air transport in Arizona, we got in Texas, we got in Louisiana. Having an airstrip in Florida, we can have all the East Coast states staging in Florida instead of having numerous, sending some to Louisiana, sending someone to Arizona for a removal of Central America or to Asia. Now we have an airstrip right there in Florida, which is not only benefits that facility, because we're going to have immigration hearings also at that facility in Florida, which means when they get ordered deported and we get a plane load, we can simply load a plane right there and take them to their home country. So it's actually, so it's a cost savings on the beds compared to last administration. And it's an extreme cost savings on transportation because you got an airstrip right there that can serve the entire East Coast.
The October to May numbers, you say, look, we're targeting the guys and the women, I guess, also, who are a threat to society. It's 3 out of 4 are traffic, immigration, or other low-level offenses. Only 1 out of the 4 are serious felons in terms of like murder, rape, high-value crimes. Is that the right ratio?
No, I don't think it is at all. I mean, the vast majority of people arresting have criminal conviction, public safety threats. But, you know, and people look at, for instance, we arrest some people in county jails in non-sanctuary states, and they have a pending criminal case. So we found them in the county jail, which most likely means they're not a choir boy. So they're pending criminal charges. The left don't want to count that. They're saying, well, they're not criminals, they're not convicted yet. Yeah, however, they've been arrested for criminal charges sitting in the county jail. We're not going to sit and wait for conviction, because a lot of prosecutors will say, look, if you're going to deport them, we just drop the case and deport them and save the taxpayer a lot of money. However, if the prosecutor wants to prosecute them, we work with the prosecutor, do a writ, saying we'll put them back in your custody for prosecution if you guarantee after you're done you release them to us. So we're working that way. So we're doing the best we can for local prosecutors and giving having the first shot at it. But if they don't want that shot, then we're going to remove them. We're not going to, you know, release them in the community to reoffend. But we are concentrating on public safety threats. Right? I want to be clear, and you and I have talked about this before. Prioritization of public safety threats, national security threats, doesn't mean everybody else is off the table. Especially in sanctuary cities where we're forced into the neighborhood to find a guy they released from a county jail. When we go looking for that guy, many times we find others who aren't a criminal target but are in the country illegally. We're going to arrest them and enforce the immigration law. That's what the law requires.
No, look, I get it, Tom. I'm not fighting you on that point. I'm saying if it's 3 out of 4 are traffic and low-level offenses, then you start to get close.
It's not 3 out of 4.
To what?
Chris, it's not 3 out of 4.
But all right. I'm looking at these numbers, and I asked it to you open-ended. If it's wrong, it's wrong. This is what I'm looking at. You saw the graphic. That's where I'm getting the numbers from. But you know, whatever. My bigger point is, you start to get close to what I think the president is kind of ceding some ground on. You know, he's gone back and forth, but the latest is people who are working on farms, people who are working in hospitality, you're going to leave them alone because they're so important to those industries and to those communities. Isn't that something that he really should acknowledge, and that not everybody who comes into this country illegally is the same?
No, I think, you know, he's the one that, you know, first brought up some sort of program for farm workers and those in the hospitality industry. It's President Trump came up with that, and I think it makes sense. You know, the details aren't in yet, so it's still under discussion. I don't want to get ahead of the president what the actual plan looks like. But remember, he also came up in the first Trump 45, Chris. He came up with an immigration plan. He wanted a DACA fix, remember, but Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi didn't want it because he asked for border funding. He also came up with immigration policy that I was a part of, and I thought it made sense, that immigration would be based on merit. Those who can come and improve this nation through various means and all sorts of labor. However, he still left room for families, moms and dads, sons and daughters. So, you know, a plan's being worked, and hopefully we'll get another plan soon. And I think the president's trying to do the right thing, and I support him on this. I mean, I grew up in farm country. I understand the need for dairy workers and so forth. If they can't legal workforce, then it's up to Congress or this administration to come up with options. And so I'm with the president, and we'll see what that policy ends up being. But he came up with this himself, and I'll support it, and we'll see what the final details look like.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.